Right, hello there, everybody. Welcome back to James Redmond TV. Your boys back in the chat with the guys talking about football and just me setting you straight, really. Shout out to Johnny James Lateman, 24 hours Lateman. Guys, the thing about yesterday, I know I said day-to-day streams, and even someone sent me a clip earlier of me specifically saying James. Like when I said the other day, like I am going to be doing streams every single day for the next 365 days. I apologize. My laptop, I don't know what was up with it. People gave me solutions. I'm just not good with laptops, so I'm going to need to sit down with a professional and sort that out. But at the moment, I'm using my mum's. It's like a, what is it even? It's not an Apple laptop. It's a friggin', I don't even know what laptop it is. It does the job, but it's different, so it's tough. And there's less cable things, so I can't plug my earphones in, which will be really annoying for when people come into the chat. I've just got an email. It's from YouTube. Yay! Not important. Shout out to Enoch, who says, anything new on the signings? All I do know is that Liverpool are now in discussions with Nice, but I wouldn't expect anything to be confirmed regarding Thuram post the under 20 Euros or, I don't know, the national football. I think Thuram's with France at the moment. Spam the comments just so, yeah, for sure, Johnny, for sure. Johnny, do you want the link? Francesca, shout out to Francesca. God bless. Started my new job, James. Today, James. Year 4s are mental. Year 4s? What do you mean by year 4s? Congratulations on starting your new job, though. I'm really proud of you. Hope you went and smashed it. Shout out to Liverpool's luchador. Want to debate you, Hammers, on who we should transfer. Send me a DM. By the way, shout out to the people who sent me a DM the other day. They weren't ignored. I just didn't end up doing content yesterday, so I didn't get back to you. And tonight, I just wanted to get a quick stream out there because I'm knackered. I'm absolutely shattered. So I haven't got back to you. I have got the messages there. I've screenshotted your profiles. So now you're in me camera roll. So I will be getting back to you. So don't be thinking, oh, James has ignored me. So why is he saying DM people? I'll get back to you shortly. Thuram looks a bit raw to me. I've been saying this opinion on Thuram for the past couple of days because when I first heard of the player, I never really assessed him too deeply. I saw a couple of compilations and I thought, that looks good because it was his best bits. But then I watch him a bit more and I think, well, if the idea, and this is what the title relates to, right? So it's a good transition. The title says, are McAllister and Thuram league-winning midfielders? Chat, yes or no? Are Thuram and McAllister league-winning midfielders? Let me get that emphasis in there. League-winning midfielders. Now, I'm not talking about league-winning in 5 years, whatever. I am talking from first day of Premier League season, when the whistle blows, all the way to the 38th game in May. They are good enough. They are a good enough pairing to take us to a league title. Yes or no? Now, yes, they could win in the long term. So I'm not trying to dispute. But right now, the objective is to get from 5th last season to 1st this season. And that's why I'm suggesting if them two are not league-winning midfielders yet, then we need to get someone else other than Thuram. Because if we can get Thuram and somebody else, but me and you both know that's very unlikely, especially if we're going to be spending 40 M's on Thuram. He's not a cheap player. He's cheap in comparison to some of the signings you see nowadays. But overall, it's still a lot of our budget going on one person. And best believe they're going to want that one person to start, in my opinion. A lot of people are saying yes. I don't know. And I think this is the best answer. We don't know yet. You know, did Epstein kill himself? Who knows? But we know. But except with this one, we actually don't know. We actually don't know. We know McAllister's a World Cup winner, but we also know that he was in a great World Cup winning team. If he doesn't come into a great Premier League team, then is he going to be a great Premier League signing, is the point. The same way if Argentina got knocked out in the round of 16, will people praise Thuram's World Cup? No, McAllister's World Cup? No, because he never done much in the World Cup. But if he did more in the World Cup, and I think he might have got a goal. I know he made a couple of appearances, that's it. But in a sense, he's proven himself to a degree. So I'm happy with McAllister. That's not my issue. But if you compliment him with Thuram, that's a problem. And then if Thiago's going to go, that's even more quality. That's now eliminated from your squad. That's a huge issue, chat. Especially when if you want to be competing in all fronts, with the addition of Europa League, you want to have good squad depth. If you don't have good squad depth, that's a huge issue. And someone said to me earlier, this was one of the most stupidest comments I ever read. What was it again? I'm trying to think of it. Oh, yeah. It was, why don't you go and buy the football club then, James, considering you know all the answers? Like as if you can't speak about football, you knob. And let's be honest as well, if you can't handle discussion like this to where I'm just simply asking the questions, are they league-winning midfielders? If they are, what's the substance? And then if there is none, then we need to go and win the league for me to see it, you know what I mean? And then if that doesn't happen, then people were wrong again. Zekton Plays says we have to wait till pre-season and see who team plays. Oh, no, we have to wait till May to really establish this question. This won't just be solved over pre-season. Johnny says Fabinho is an absolute world-class DM. Still, we need 2 more midfielders, in my opinion, to go with McAllister, Fabinho, because I love Henderson and Jones, Thuram or Elliott as rotation. That's absolutely quality, says Johnny. Fair enough. I mean, listen, if Curtis Jones and Harvey Elliott become the players that, you know, they're touted to be, then yeah, for sure, they'd be good options, but they're not those players yet or haven't shown to be. Festus says James should do a group chat with a few members if you it gets you closer with tabs and can debate more on there. I was thinking about this, Festus, so where a group of people who genuinely just want to jump on the stream and talk footy, we could jump in all like a little group on Instagram. I wouldn't do WhatsApp because I wouldn't want to give my number out. But yeah, on Instagram or something, do a little group chat. That could be a grand old shout. There's 100 people in the stream. Smash a like, please. It was a very short notice stream, so I appreciate everyone tuning in. It won't be super long. It'll be about, I'd say 30, 40 minutes, this one, but tomorrow we'll be back to the regular hours or there and thereabouts. If Thiago stays, he probably is a backup for Trent as register. I really want to know I'll say Mr. Copite or Mrs. Copite. I'll say Copite. Copite, I want to understand what you're saying there because that means you're certain with 100% certainty that Trent is going to play in midfield. Chat, can I ask you a question? Do you think that Trent Alexander-Arnold, genuinely in your heart of hearts, is going to play in midfield next season? I really want to know. I want to get the gauge. Is Trent an option? Because then if so, why aren't we getting a right back? Because the only solution there is if we get a back 3, then maybe, but then we need to get 1 or 2 centre-backs. So if we are going to play Trent in midfield, then fine. But I still think we're going to play him as either. If we go to a right back 3, I think we'll still play him as like a right midfielder, wing-back type player. I don't think it makes much difference. We've played with a back 3 before systematically. We've just never started with a back 3. That's the only difference. Trent isn't playing mid. Exactly. I mean, it doesn't mean that I'm 100% right. I'm just saying all things don't lead towards Trent playing. So for Thiago to be an understudy to Trent in midfield would then need Trent to be a midfielder, and he's not going to play in midfield. And we all know that he could be good enough because anyone with that ability is just a good footballer. So put them anywhere and they'll do a job. But I don't know. With Trent, it's one of those where I don't think Klopp fancies him there. Or we don't want to waste any money on a right back. So because we've got higher priorities. So we'll persist with him there in the meantime. But yeah, because I don't see Connor Bradley just coming into the first team and setting a world of light either. I think he needs time. Zaza says, does McAllister deserve the number 10 kit? No, I mean, not straight off the bat. I mean, hasn't he got it already? Yeah, he's got it already. But at the same time, I think that's a big suggestion that he was always going to be one of, if not the biggest signing of the summer transfer window. It's why I don't think we're going to get many other midfielders after Thuram, if any. But then giving him that number 10 also now hopefully gives him the platform to establish himself as a quality midfielder, box-to-box, creativity, just adding a different dimension to a team that lacked that diversity in the midfield in recent years, just being very basic and very easy to read, and also a lack of energy. You know, there's less legs in the midfield in recent years, therefore teams have been able to outrun us, which is what our forte was, because before you knew what we were going to do, you just couldn't handle it. It's the same way when you fight a boxer who's a it's like Colby Covington for those who watch MMA. You know Colby Covington's a good wrestler and sound striking, but you also just know that he's got great stamina, and that's why he's able to out-volume you in terms of strikes and wrestling. But you can't stop it, and that's because of the energy that they have, and we need to get that energy back. So maybe for those reasons, Thuram could be good. And I don't want people to think that I'm sleeping on Thuram. I just want people to realise that if in one conversation and discussion, you're going to sit there and say, we're going to win the league title, and then in another discussion, you're saying we're going to get Thuram, and you're saying that he might not be ready right now because he's young, but he could be ready one day. Do you see the contradiction, chat? I'm just saying, do you see the contradiction? You're saying, we're going to go and win the league, but this new midfielder who's going to come in the first team straight away, he isn't quite ready, but he will be in a few years, is now going to help us get from fifth to first. Makes no sense to me. So I don't mind Thuram. I just want to see more quality on top of this. And then when I'm seeing Tonali or Barella, I feel like I need to sneeze. Oh, my days. Oh, my days. Oh, that was a proper stingy sneeze. That was a proper seedy sneeze. Because of the little, achoo. I don't usually do that. But, that was like lingering for a good minute. Where's my cap? I'm sick of this part of my hair going down. I look like a goth. You know those goths, chat? You have their hair like... you know this. Like this. So what I mean. Fucking hell. Such a ming. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. It's one of those things. It's one of those things. I don't know what we were talking about. We'll go on to the next topic. Maintain retention. Yavraj says, I think McAllister and Thuram are potential players. We need to Barella type. That's what I was talking about. Yeah, Tonali and Barella, thank you for reminding me. Good comment, actually. In terms of Barella or Tonali, we're not the ones in that market. It seems that Newcastle can go out and get a Tonali or whatever. So don't be expecting any or whoever the next player is to be above 50 to 60 million. And also don't expect us to get 3 or 4 or 5 players like what we need. But do anticipate the possibility of getting 2 or 3. Because 2 or 3 would be bare minimum of what we need. Anything more than shows intent that we're looking to get back in the top 4 and actually now go and kick on for the league. So I believe now it's going forward. When I say we're going to compete for top 4, I don't want anyone crying because we don't show the business of a team who wants to go and compete. So therefore, I don't want anyone crying when they say we're not going to compete for the league because we don't show things that's going to compete for the league because of the combated logic. If the logic doesn't align, then I'm not going to align with it. It doesn't even align with itself. Why am I going to align with it? Shout out to Johnny who says, Southgate, I had no clue why Maguire and Hendo start. Why are you talking about Hendo and Maguire? Harris says, Thuram and McAllister will be good enough for top 4. Add Barella and we can compete for the league. I am out. Oh, shit, Johnny, I forgot to send you the link. I believe we could compete for the league if we had a Barella and Tonali and these type of individuals, even if it was just one of them. I believe we can go ahead and compete for the league if you get one of those players. But Liverpool won't get one of those players because they're too much out of the budget. And then chat, can I ask one question? And I'll go through all the answers. Why don't Liverpool have a budget? Seriously, why? Because, and if anyone's got a proper answer, come onto the stream and I'll answer the chat for now. Because seriously, like, where is the budget if we've got the budget? That's my issue. That's my number one thing. Right, Johnny, I'm just going to send you this link now, bud. One sec, Johnny. Where are you, lad? There you are. Boom. Right, chat, I'm going to get into what you're saying. I don't think anyone would have gave me an answer, to be fair. We aren't. We're in for Haidara, Milinkovic, Savic and Brozovic. They are each worth 40 million. We should snap them. It doesn't look like, based on who we're linked with, they're the players that we're going to get. But Liverpool, for instance, we weren't linked with Fabinho when we got Fabinho. Therefore, it can be an out-of-nowhere signing. There could be a surprise or two in there. FSG can surprise us. But where I think we're going to get... Yeah, here's a shout. WRL. I think where we see the most exciting signing this season is in January. It's happened for the past 2 seasons. You know, Gakpo, Diaz, like the best players of our teams, the most influential players in recent times have came in January. It just looks like we prefer business done that way. Liverpool's confusing because we, on one hand, we were going to get Tchouaméni for 100 mil. Now just looking at 40 mil players max. It's weird. Where's it gone? And if you've spread it out, how have you not made more over the course of 12 months? Because people will say, well, if you get Thuram and McAllister, that's 80 million combined, most of the budget gone. No, you had 100 million last summer. Where's it gone? Because you made more money this year. So where did that go? Breathe Soul says we don't need any right back with agency. Trent is going to play at right back, but he's going to play in the middle with Fabinho, and Kanate is going to play the right back position. We stopped Vinicius with that strategy. Did we stop Vinicius? I swear we lost 5-2 to Real Madrid. And if we lost 5-2 to Real Madrid, then there was something wrong with the systematic structure. And I also know we never won over the course of those 2 games, so we mustn't have done that well. Just stopping one player doesn't mean that's going to be beneficial for the whole team. And plus, not everyone has a Vinicius Jr. Josh says, I think this season we need a change in the summer for the start of the season. Yeah, for sure we do, but Liverpool like to take the time with business, and I understand, because then that gets you the best negotiations and the best prices. But the bit that I don't understand is, if it's at a detriment of getting you to win trophies, then clearly that means you don't care as much about winning trophies. So then be honest about that. Say we're not looking to win trophies. Say if we win a trophy, it'd be good. But really, we're just here to give the fans, good memories, sustainable top 4 team. They now become sustainable. If there's no improvement, then can we know that there's not going to be improvement? Because you can come out and say, we're not going to compete every year. Don't come out and say we don't spend like everybody else, we do it our way. No, say we don't have the resources. And this basically means that we're not going to be able to compete year in, year out. But they haven't said that, because then you won't align with the story. You'll start going, wait there, FSG have even said that they're competing for top 4. So why am I now going to be investing into that? That's why they can't say it. But if they were transparent, like the way smaller clubs are transparent with their fans, then I think it'd be a lot more clear on everything that I'm saying. Not that I'm right, but everything to say that we're trying to be a league-winning team is not being proven. Harris says, James, chances to Tchouaméni is sold. Madrid got plenty of midfielders and will need to fund Mbappe. Klopp likes him, and I think that's an exception where FSG would spend big if they were going to last summer. I don't think we'll get to Tchouaméni, I'll be honest with you. Makes no sense to me. Financially, I just don't think we've got the capabilities. If we was going to get him, because we had the money, then I wouldn't mind, because he's young, and like you said, Klopp's identified him before. So I wouldn't mind from that point of view, but the point that I struggle is, where is the money coming from to get that player, especially if you're going to get Thuram as well. We have quite a bit of potential. Trent, who's young and quality, can go up in centre mid. We buy a right back and a centre back to equalise our underperforming centre backs and add a third signing in Thuram. But I'm 99% that ain't going to happen. Okay. Fair point, SSJG. Shout out to you, by the way, sir. Shiranath, shout out to you. FSG just got lucky with 3 or 4 solid signings, like Alisson, Virgil van Dijk, Mane and Salah. If not, their reign would have been abysmally poor in investment. Johnny. Hey, you little bastard. Wait there. Are my earphones working? Can you hear Johnny? Johnny. I knew they weren't working. I thought they were working because he weren't speaking. I was going to get your opinion on that, Johnny, but you became a shithouse. Chat, it's not just me that can't hear Johnny, is it? Can you not hear him as well? We can't hear him. That's good. Thought it was just me. You're right. Virgil van Dijk, Mane and Salah were all in the space of one good window. Chat, get on this. We had, besides that era, besides when we sold Coutinho, that's what I'm going to say. Besides when we sold Coutinho, when did we spend well? We didn't spend well with the Luis Suarez money, because the solution to Luis Suarez was Balotelli and Ricky Lambert. That was the solution. And Iago Aspas was before, to be fair, but loads of poor investments. That besides everything else, do you get what I'm trying to say? I feel like I go round in circles on these streams. I really, really do feel like it. Why isn't my mouse working? I hate this fucking laptop, mate. I miss my old one. Shiranath says, would you be willing for Liverpool to buy Jude 5 years from now? Oh, it depends. That's a long, long time away to be coming to conclusions right now, sir. A shout out from the legend himself. I can die in peace. My man. I try and shout out as many people as possible, but I also need to read the comments that are the most interesting to keep the flow of the show. If Rice doesn't go to Arsenal, I wouldn't be surprised if Tchouaméni went there. We're not getting Tchouaméni. Arsenal getting Tchouaméni could be interesting because it looks like they're going to miss out on Casado and Declan Rice because of Man City. So you might have a juicy point. Harris says, James, I think potentially we are waiting to see how the younger targets perform in the tournament. Clearly, we are ahead in the race for Thuram. If he drops a stinker, we won't get him. Fair dues. Liverpool, yeah, for sure. I think if he has a bad tournament, that'd be a bad way to judge whether you want to play it or not. But I see what you're saying. Maybe we're just scouting the field. Thuram for now, and then by the time we could execute on Thuram, someone better could have came along. You definitely cannot dispute it. I hate the way this just automatically zooms in. Where's me mouse again? I'm trying to get used to this new laptop. People, do bear with me. While I'm sorting that out, please do smash a like. You gorgeous individuals. Absolute gorgeous people. Johnny. You little bell end. Why aren't you speaking, mate? You know what I mean? Harry says, James, I can't help but feel that City will drop off this year. Everyone thought last year was a transitional window, but they could lose 6 to 7 players. Leagues there for the taking. Oh, chat, is this a W or an L? Gundogan, gone. And I think that's a big miss. Bernardo Silva, possibly going to go. Who else has already left Man City? Is there anyone else? Cancelo's going, and let's not forget Cancelo was a good player for Man City. I don't like the narrative because he had a bad few months. He was shit. Him, Bernardo Silva, and Gundogan are 3 huge misses. So the more I analyse it, the more I see what you're saying. The bit I agree with here is that it's an opportunity for the taking. To expect City to get 95 points after selling those 3 key names, I would think that's mad. But they can still get 85 to 90. But that's not as bad when you've considered previous title races. So if I told you before the season City are going to get 85 points, you'd take that. You'd be like, ooh. Or at least a couple of seasons ago, you'd be like, oh, that'll be enough for us to win the league. Because we're a 90-plus point a season team, you know, especially at our peak. Therefore, this could be an opportunity. And if City lose those players, that could be huge. And I saw a mixture of L's, W's, agreements, disagreements. It's interesting where the chat stands on this. How much apple juice have you drank today? Oh, I've left it in my room, but a lot. Now I drink a carton of apple juice. The way I eat, I intermittent fast. So I will only eat in the hours of 3 o'clock and 7 o'clock. So 3 p.m., 7 p.m. I only eat during that time. I also eat out in the sun. It's better to eat out in the sun. So I fast, and in that time is when I can have all foods. But then outside of that, I can only have apple juice as my sort of cheat, because I'm actually only supposed to have water throughout the day, but I'm allowed 1 apple juice. So I have 1 carton. So it's still a lot of apple juice. 1 carton of apple juice is still a lot of apple juice, but that's the context of my apple juice addiction. Techers Dave, shout out to you, sir. To be fair, I think they won the treble. They won everything. They could be difficult with the players leaving as well, but we and a number of other teams dropped off as well. That's very true. If we improve a lot and City drop a little bit and everything else stays the same, then yes, we're going to win a league title. But do you see how you're reliant on a lot of factors and variables there besides your own greatness? Like, I want Liverpool to get to a point where we rely on our own greatness to win trophies, not other teams' downfalls or demises. But then people will say that's unrealistic. And I agree with FSG, it most certainly is. Johnny!
Yo, can you hear me now, mate?
I'm hearing you sounding loud and clear, you fucking tit,
how you doing?
You know what I mean?
How you doing, James?
I'm fucking sound, lad. How are you?
Not very good, mate, especially with all the transfer news when it comes to that, because when I spoke to you last, I really felt like we were going to finish second, right? But after a matter of days, or like seeing the news with Declan Rice potentially going to City for the replacement for Gundogan, also seeing that Ian Timbers agreed terms with Arsenal, like, oh man, we're just missing out on huge players.
Has he actually?
Yep. Yeah. He's agreed personal terms, but they haven't agreed a fee, Arsenal and Ajax.
Okay. So how's those owners now?
Mate, it's not looking good, is it?
Chat, are we getting Johnny to turn? Here's Johnny.
In terms of winning the league, lad, it's not looking very good.
It's not looking good, is it, Johnny?
I feel like the plan, lad, from the owners going to try be, from the looks of things, to build a field that can compete, and then try in the next 2 or 3 years to possibly win one league title with a good strategy. But you never know, dear. We could end up like Spurs.
But you know what, lads? This is why I've been telling you, be careful of your expectations. Johnny, we will see you in and out throughout the show, okay? Once we get an interesting point, I'll bring you in. So stay ready. My guy, he gets the gist. He didn't even say goodbye. He was like, okay, I understand my role. Now, shout out to Johnny, guys. He's been a big addition to the show over the past. He just came out of nowhere as well. Like, I've never saw his face. I don't know what he looks like. He hasn't even showed me off camera. He just came out of nowhere. That's Johnny for you. But I think there's a lot. I think Johnny is starting to realise as well that shit isn't going great. You know what I mean? Shit is not going great right now, and we need to make these improvements. We need to increase the agency. And when DVs come out and message me saying, James, why don't you buy the football club then? Many. Okay, so now I can't talk, simply discuss about the solutions that we could find to start becoming a Premier League title winning team again, unless you think it's bad for me to try and find those solutions to get the end goal of being a league winning team. And if you don't want to be a league-winning team, then you've lowered the standards. And here's the thing. People want the perfect club. The fans don't run the club. FSG run the club. It's not the fans' club no more. It's their club. So now we've got to look at it and say it's in their hands. Therefore, when things go wrong, it's not the fans who are self-funding the club, because we don't. It's the people who do. It's the people who make the big decisions. It's the people who make the certain employments in roles. Director of footballs, managers, coaches, staff, players. They have the most influence. They have the final say. That's the premise. You cannot ignore the premise to then say, okay, we're going to continue. It's about sustainable winning. If you want to be sustainable top 4, then do you know what? FSG aren't bad for now. But what about when Newcastle get better and better and a consistent top 4 team? Aston Villa keep spending more than us. Wolves spending more than us. Pretty much most teams. We're on the level right now of the Brentfords and the Bournemouths and the Fulhams of this world. We're competing with teams who have got honestly, when I compare the history of these football clubs to ours, I'm not a fan to diminish history. I'm actually kind of I'm in the process of choosing a small team to support, like in the lower leagues, someone to back, and not Tranmere Rovers because they're from Birkenhead. So someone cool, like Grimsby, but I don't know if they're Tories, so I'm not too sure. But anyway, I'm just saying in a gist of, we need to go out there. We need to show that we can keep up with these teams. And if we cannot, then can we even remain to be a top 4 team? And if we can't, how much longer are we dealing with these owners? You know what I mean? Panov Scouse says, yeah, but we fell off big time last season. Fingers crossed that we won't be the case this season. We should be fresh with some reinforcements, plus a good pre-season. I think it will be a business as usual. Business as usual means 90 plus points again. Panascaus, do you think we're getting back to 90 plus points? Because that's business as usual. At least that's how I'd associate business as usual. LVP Badger says, if we were to sign Thuram and Walker in right back, Walker, do you mean Walker Peters? I'd be happy with those signings, but after this season, or this season coming up, FSG need to sell up and leave before we fall behind. We need an owner who will invest. Bobby Devo says, LFC should be the pinnacle of English football. FSG need to put up or shut up, and we are going to end up a top 16. Now, if you're a rival fan and you read this comment, you'll read this as complacency. Oh, why do Liverpool deserve to be there? Off the sole premise of how we determine success in this country. Most trophies, massive history, most European trophies, literally like the biggest club in Europe. Now, if you want to go off fans and Instagram followers, then that's a more modern day metric that I don't really know means if you're the biggest club in the world. Because that just means your team is better at marketing than my team. It doesn't mean you're a better nor bigger club. So therefore, that's where the entitlement comes from. And when we see anything below the entitlement, then yes, that's a disrespect, because that is not what Bob Bill Shankly built. It's not what Bob Paisley continued. And then it's not what Fagan went and added on for another year before he got sacked. It was just a long era of nothing but success. Not every year, because every year isn't, but every year we competed. If you can compete every single year, you can improve every single year. When your players get old, like they did with Shankly, never won the league for 7 years, but then you finally get the gist, like, no, not only do you need to improve these players, you need to keep improving these players. And I hope that's something that Klopp has realised, because if he's going to be here until 2026, which is something I hope he does, then I hope he's banging on that door every single morning on FSG saying we need to get new signings. But if FSG have communicated, right, we only want top 4, or we'll be happy with top 4, like, yeah, we want to win the league, but we understand City is stronger, so don't worry. If that's the communication, Klopp's a man's man. He'll be like, okay, I'll do what you want me to do. You've told me to do this. This is what I'm getting paid to do. Therefore, that'll be the ambition. That doesn't need to be told to you. So, let's hope. But again, like when Jurgen Klopp's coming out in interviews saying, book your flights to Turkey. I know it was a one-off comment, but now you need to back it up with a little bit of substance. And we never done that in the performances last season. And we never done that in the signings this window or last window. Do you get what I'm saying, chat? WRL. Harris says FSG will remain in place as long as we allow them. All this talk online, it appears the majority are on the same page, but not physically, but nothing or not much physically happens, as did with our previous owners. Because people don't care enough. As you've noticed, Harris, a lot of people's expectation is the bare minimum. Well, at least we're not Spurs, Johnny. At least we're not Johnny. At least we're not these teams who do not set the highest of standards. So because we're not these teams, and at least it's not Hicks and Gillette where we nearly fucking folded as a football club. As long as it's not that, then it's fine. And that's the mindset of a lot of fans. I am not going to worry about applying any action towards getting these owners out until it absolutely matters, until the football club is borderline finished, because people don't care that much. People say they care, but then the actions speak differently. And that's why when I come out on a platform, because listen, I won't get very far going to Anfield, making a scene, trying to get thousands of fans who are only going to visit Anfield once, a lot of them, and then some who are just trying to get there and home, just for a little day out. I'm not trying to go to Anfield, cause a commotion, which is going to result in zero productivity and getting people aligned with FSG out, involved in campaigns and constant protests. That's something I single-handedly, I'm telling you now, I haven't got the contacts to do it. I haven't got the time to do it. I haven't got any of these things to do it. A lot of people align on the same page, which is why when I come out on a platform, yeah, I could sit here and I can say, oh, Liverpool's boss for this reason. And no, guys, don't misunderstand FSG. Because I'm sure, as you guys can understand, that probably maximises opportunities for James Redmond to do more things with the football club. When I speak about this, it doesn't help me. There's no incentive. But I believe this to be the truth. And until someone says I'm wrong, I'm fine to say, fine. You're right, I'm wrong. But very little information comes out about the football club, and the information we do know about suggests that, we're a top 4 competing team, and that's it. Thuram is so overrated by Liverpool fans simply because of his hairstyle. I'm not going to lie, I do think the cooler looking players, like with the cool haircuts and the young ballers, I think everyone gets so excited. People done it with Nunes. Man had a ponytail and his name was Nunes, and he's young. So people just thought he was going to be the next Haaland, even though they'd not watched them once. They'd seen Haaland, they'd heard of Haaland, never heard of Nunes besides the time he played us, and they said they were going to score the same amount of goals. It just shows that, you've got to be more precise on how you come to these conclusions. Zek Tarn Plays says, I feel like the only way FSG would sell up would be if a big player like Salah or Virgil van Dijk came out and said that the owners need to invest, and if they don't, then they need to go. Well, the players right now are coming out and saying we need to buy players, but I don't know whether that's them or whether that's people at the club controlling their Instagrams, which they have 100% got control to do just by the contracts they would have signed. Yes, he agreed. The expectation now in football is that owners must get players no matter the financial fallout it could cause. The clubs that spend responsibly cannot compete anymore. I think Harry's put it really well there. What do you think, chat? Do you think that this is an FSG problem, or do you think everyone else is just getting bigger than FSG? You know what I mean? What do you think? Johnny, what are you saying? Very phenomenal insights here. Phenomenal. Johnny, you're not being a good side, man. I might need to sack you. You know what I mean? James, can we still do the Scouts podcast thing you said you wanted to debate? 100%. If you watched the start of the stream, I actually mentioned that the reason why I haven't got back to DMs is because yesterday I was sorting out loads of stuff with the laptop and equipment and other things that life throws in the way. So I never got back to the DMs. However, I've screenshotted them all. I'm intending to get back to you soon. This is only a short stream, so I'm not getting anyone on it tonight. I forgot there's a private chat. Johnny says we need to get an insurance for the state. Oh, Johnny's messaging me in the private chat. Johnny, message in the actual comments because they don't go together, and I'll miss your comments otherwise if you put them in the private chat. Harris says Super League showed the fans powers, but yet most people don't care enough to start anything, as you said. Most just want to go home, or they are, Johnny. Johnny, did you hear it? He took the piss out of you, Johnny. It's so true. It's so true in many aspects. I think the Super League's shown that the voice of the fans is massively important to a point where you literally got the owner of our football club to sit down, put a yellow flower behind him and say sorry. Like, that's literally the power the fan base has. But they don't want to do it because it's not a big problem. So in one sentence, you'll say, I want to win the league title. The next sentence, you'll say, I think we'll win the league title. But the sentence after, you don't want to acknowledge what I'm saying about the problems of the football club. And then, therefore, if you don't care about those problems, then you don't really care about winning trophies, which then ruins the foundations of which Liverpool was built off of. LVP Badger says the fact that the owners haven't invested a penny in the team out of their own pocket over the 5 years, but have taken 37 million out of the funds instead shows how much they are not interested about investing. Guys, is this true? Is this actual factual information? Like, is this something that we can back up with, substance and data? Because if so, that's bad. Harris says FSG bought us in the millions. New owners would buy us in the billions. FSG clearly can't compete, but new owners would, so they don't. People see. Why don't people see this? Exactly. FSG need to be careful because if they stay on board for too long, we might fall out of that top four, therefore meaning we lose a little bit of that value, pardon me. I know it's rude in some part of the country is the burp, isn't it? So I do just want to sincerely apologise in case that did offend anyone. Didn't even mean to burp there, came out of nowhere. Absolutely not FSG problem. They can't win with the money ball anymore like they used to, but it's their fault that they don't sell the club to someone that that can help us compete. See, I still think it's your fault. Like, there's in fact, no, you're right. Like, genetically, there's just going to be guys who are just bigger than you in life, for instance. And there's going to be guys that if you go to the gym and you go to the gym more, you're never going to be bigger than this guy. So I get that from that standpoint. But all it says to me is that FSG are one of three things, if not all three. One, you're worse cheaters than everybody else. Two, you're worse at finding loopholes than everybody else. And three, you've not got as many strong connections as everybody else. If you lose in all three departments, you're not really an intelligent owner, and this is not the business for you. So you're right. You should sell the club, FSG, if you cannot compete with these owners. But it is also your fault that you haven't decided to build and maximize the resources you've gained from the football club over the years and reinvest it into the stuff that makes you bigger and gives you the chance, the mere chance to compete. So hopefully we do get that significant investment that's needed. Gang deep! My brother, man. Thank you so much for the generous super chat. Massive, massive support shown to the channel recently and just over the years, man. Really appreciate it. James, massive issues with LFC are these incentivized wages. If we won the quad last year, we would have made a loss. Hardly any profit as our players' wages would have skyrocketed. When we win equals no money. We don't win. No money equals no money joke. I never read that outright, but guys, read that for yourself. Sorry, I never read it out well, but read it out for yourself, and that makes like the best sense. Incentivized wages is one part of the entire structure which is flawed. So not only are these players going for free, which is one problem, not only are we not investing as much as we'd like to, which is another. When we do invest, we're giving these players contracts which are not sustainable contracts, which is maybe why when we do win these competitions, the majority of the money is going on these incentive bonuses. Now, yes, sometimes to attract the best players, you need to give them these bonuses, or if you need to keep them, you need to give them bonuses. And I know there's a way it makes you think, okay, these players are now going to play better because they're chasing their money. What was it that Harry Redknapp said? It's like, wait, what? You want a bonus if you get this many goals? What the fuck am I bringing you in for then? What am I bringing you in for? You're supposed to score goals anyway. There's not an incentive. Because then if you get a goal bonus after 15 goals, and then you get 15 goals, but you're only 30 games into the season, does that now mean you've just got a license to just sit off because you've got your goal bonus? Because that, best believe that's what players do. And I'll tell you how I know people's minds work that way. Ganganzi, this is such a brilliant comment. Well done, sir. How I know people's brains work this way is because I used to work for a charity, right? And you go and knocking on doors and you try and sign people up. The average amount of sign-ups in a day for the charity, especially through the cost of living and whatnot, was about, at best, you're getting 3 or 4 people. If I got, and we were on targets, we weren't commission-based fundraisers, we were professional fundraisers, but we were paid hourly. So pretty much that meant we had targets. If we weren't profitable for the charity, then the charity wouldn't see any point in keeping us because we're losing the money, and you don't want to lose money for the charity. Therefore, you'd need to get a specific amount of sign-ups. When I'd get the sign-ups I need for the day, God bless if my manager's been watching this because he'll hate me saying this, but I'd just sit off. I'd just be like, I've got my sign-ups now. You know what I mean? And you'd build the currency, you'd build the credit in the bank. But naturally, your brain, yet you can stand there and say, I want to be the best fundraiser and I want to raise the most funds for charity. Yes, you should have that mindset. The same way a striker should have the mindset of scoring goals. But if you're not going to get any more money for scoring 20 goals than 15 goals, then why are you going to go out the extra yards to get those extra 5? If your initial target was 15, that went a lot longer than needed. But it was a great point, man. Like, these players need to be urgent and incentivized throughout the entire season. The only way really you give them bonuses is if we win trophies, trophy bonuses, but goal scoring bonuses. If you are going to give them one, it needs to be extortionate. Like for Virgil van Dijk to get X amount, you need 30 clean sheets, or Salah, if you want X amount, you need 40 goals. And yes, I'm talking high goals. Like, do something abnormal. Why am I paying you more money for you to do something that you've been doing for me anyway? And you're only getting older, so you're not going to get better. You've got to think of this logically, chat. You've got to think of this logically. If you don't think of this logically, you will perish. It even says in the Bible, my people shall perish from a lack of knowledge. It's the same in this instance, and I don't want my people to perish, man. I want to see Liverpool fans on top of the world, seeing us win trophies. Johnny. Fucking map it, Johnny. Just have not been available for the full stream, mate. Pancake Man says, I remember hearing Chris Pajak basically saying the FSG model gets you back to the top, but it won't keep you there. I'd ignore this whole window now for my mental health, but I can't do it. I think Chris Pajak is brilliant at breaking things down. I think he's got a great eye for football, Chris Pajak, I'm not going to lie to you. And I think that was the best way to put it. And you don't have to be like me and come out and say, FSG aren't good. You can say it in the way Chris says it. People think it's all like red men are trying to stay custy with the football club. As much as I'm sure there's things that they wouldn't be able to say or talk about or discuss in detail, this is a good professional way to talk about FSG. And it's still bringing across the transparency to you guys. That's the most important thing, is getting the truthful message across. Do they have the best interests for the success of Liverpool Football Club? We know top 4 isn't success. So if that's what they're aiming for, then this message stands true. Because the model can get you to the top, it will not keep you there. That's been proven, tried and tested multiple times under the FSG reign. We got seconds under Brendan Rodgers, never saw it again. Seconds multiple times under Klopp. Very good chances suggest that we're not going to see that again, because you need to get another Mane, Salah and all these players. You need a Coutinho to sell, otherwise you're not going to bring in new names. And it just creates this big fuck-off snowball of issues. So, Yeah, man. Yeah, man. The main issue is people only play football for money these days, not for the love of the game. And I can understand when Saudi leagues dishing out $4 million a week wages. I don't know, man. I disagree. I think there's people who play it for for instance, I love YouTube, but I love YouTube much more, and I can do YouTube to a good standard if I'm getting paid well for YouTube. You know what I mean? But that's why I don't like incentives. Your weekly wage is one thing, right? The main issue I have, because people, players, yes, they're getting a high weekly wage, but they'll want to maintain the high weekly wage. So two things I'm against is super long contracts for uncertain players. And then the incentivized part of the contracts. I think both of those things can lead to comfortability within an individual. And if an individual player is too comfortable, then they're not going to play at the best. And then that causes you problems in the long term for success and in the short term for games as well. Harris says, even if they don't want to sell Liverpool, where's the investment that they said? So they acknowledge they can't compete financially by looking for investment. Now they can't even get us finances. Another thing that FSG have failed you on. They acknowledge they haven't got the resources, which I get told that I'm negative for saying. Great point, Harris. Well done, sir. What you guys should sit here. You really should. That's better articulated than how I would have put it. Not only have they admitted things that I'm getting called negative for, which is that they're financially inferior and inadequate, they can't even get what they need. So do you know before when I said that they're not good cheaters, they're not good loophole finders, or they're just not good at the football business? I think this shows that it could probably be all of them. It could be all of them. Because when they're looking for replacements, they don't get them till a certain point. When they've got a great asset, they let them go for free. When they give these players big contracts, they give them massive incentivized contracts, which then leads to the potential chance of dropping performance. And then when they admit they need to get more in finances, they have at least to this point failed to get those finances. So when the stadium, the main stand, the big main stand was going to get built, now we're going to see an improvement. Now we're going to kick on. After the Anfield Road thing, now we're going to kick on. When we get investment, now we're going to kick on. I always like to use the carrot on a stick. They leave you a carrot on a stick, so you still go to the games, you still go and buy shirts because you're in belief that you're in a title race, when in reality, you might get close, but you was never going to win the title. You was never going to win it because that's not what their ambition was. James, how much do you think it remains in our budget this summer after buying McAllister? I reckon we have another 90 to 100 million. I think available budget, probably what you said, yeah. I think if we wanted to stretch it on a player or two, I think about 100 million. Roughly. 200 people in the stream. If we can smash the likes, just because gets the stream more out there, really helps out. Appreciate it, guys. By the way, I went on Ranter's stream before, and that was boss. So if you want to watch this after this, then feel free. To be fair, we only have to look at how they bought the club. They needed someone else's money to even do that, and that was for nothing. Chat. Context gets better and better as I read these messages. I'm going to ask one question in a minute, and I want everybody to answer. So even if you're just enjoying the stream and you're not interacting in the chat, in a minute, just have your phone at hand so you can answer this question for me, if that's okay. I'll ask it in a second. Where's all the money from the Nike deal and LeBron James crossover? Guys, where is it? And I just want these questions answered. If you know anyone who's an expert on this stuff, the stadium expansion stuff, the Nike deal, where was the influx of cash after the Nike deal? Because if anything, we spent more with Standard Chartered than friggin' Nike. Do you reckon Liverpool could go to Saudi? LFC players? I think that's a good question. We'll delve into that. Before I actually delve into this question, chat, I want everybody to answer. Now that we've went through what we've went through, the information this channel is a platform to ask questions, open discussions that may be deemed to an average football fan who doesn't watch it as much as me and you or see it the same way, a silly debate or question. But on this platform, gives us an opportunity to find the truth, the true truth, because you can be told like what we've went through, that you can be lied to. Based on what we know now and the questions that we've raised, are you FSG in or are you FSG out? I want everyone in the chat answering this question. Everyone in the chat, FSG in, FSG out. If you're in, are you giving them a chance? How much longer are you going to give them a chance? What's your new standards? But we need to know. Johnny, FSG in or FSG out?
FSG out, lad.
Get the fire emojis in the chat. Say that again, Johnny.
From now, unless they go out and spend 100+ million, it's got to be on it. Because, like, we're not getting better, are we, James? And we're not going to get better. Like, people think that the only limelight I can see in all this, lad, is Harvey Elliott and Curtis Jones. Like, they're quality kids. They could be, like, one of the top English players in 5 or 6 years. That's all, though.
And even that's a long hope, you know what I mean? Because then you need to keep hold of them for that long to develop them to that point. And really, if they do end up doing well, it's just another excuse to go and buy less players, which I think when we break down everything that we've just went through there, all the people in the chat saying FSG out, all the questions that was raised, I just think the balance now is becoming a lot more against FSG than for. And I do think there's now a tide changing. I think if we see another bad season of underperforming football, I do think we'll start to see a larger part of the fan base go ahead. Because it was only a year ago, you've said this, it was only a year ago that we were competing for quadruples. People will probably believe we're going to get that again in the short term. Now, what would be quite good, and I'm not saying it'd be good because I don't want this, but it'd be good for the short term. If we did bad, that means more people are now going to start looking at the ownership. Because right now, I think FSG have got too much credit in the bank, but the credit comes from another man's money. And what I mean is that Jurgen Klopp maximising the money that they've spent. I think there's something to that. But yeah, man, it's interesting times. I think we're starting to see a change. What about you, Johnny? Even you, lads?
Lad, it's very, very uncertain times, isn't it, for us?
Indeed, fam. Indeed. Johnny, I'll bring you back in a minute, lad. I'll bring you back in a minute. I think there was a little bit of an audio delay issue there as well, so we'll sort that out. Show some love for Johnny in the chat as well, people. He's dedicating every single night to this stream. He's been here every video. He's always the first commenter. Shout out to Johnny. Bobby says, FSG out. Defo, they have left us high and dry. Too many window players playing midfield as a centre-back for most of the season. You're right. And do you know what else? Do you know on the point that people make about FSG and that they saved the club? Yeah, they saved the club. They took the club forward. They even went as far to win the Premier League with the club. But you know what's more admirable is when a man knows he can't fight no more. And FSG have came out themselves through action and through words saying they cannot compete with these people. I love owners who take clubs to a certain point, but when they cannot take them no further, they have the dignity and humility to step down from that platform and say, I can't do this as well as another man could do this. And if FSG do not have that same humility and they have their priority, which is their bank account, which as a business I understand, but as a football fan, I don't need to align nor agree or like. I do not need to like that. Just because that's best for them, that's their interest. My interest is Liverpool Football Club. Their interest is Liverpool Football Club. The interest we have for the football club is what's different. I want trophies, or at least competing. They want Champions League revenue. Whatever maximizes the revenue, whatever does such thing, that is what's best. And all the questions we've gone through tonight, I think, lean even more in favour about FSG being a huge problem. And people will come on and call us victims, and people will say that we're not looking into this. We go into hours and hours and hours collectively, from me to the chat and the chat with each other, going through this, breaking it down bit by bit. And that's why when people question me, I don't fold. I try and maintain strong, stay steadfast, and make sure that I'm focusing on the point at hand, which is FSG, I think, are a problem. I haven't heard a point to oppose that they're not a problem. Now we need to analyse if I'm lying or if you're lying. And if we're in the middle, then who's more right? And I think now people are starting to see FSG being a big issue. It amazes me all day, all the time, that people all the people who want FSG out, but who is going to buy us? No one has really shown any interest to buy us from what I know, even though FSG, they were selling. For sure. To dispute that, I will respond to this with, okay, yes, there's no one who has publicly came out into a news article or anything like this to say, I want to buy Liverpool for this price. And usually that's a good indicator for you saying, I am now going to enter these talks. But I don't even think FSG want to sell. And I think the whole thing about the news was a ploy to see anyone come in and try and buy the football club. And if so, how much would that be for? But the thing I will raise is I dispute the idea that nobody out there in world football, no one wants Liverpool. But we've got all these people looking to buy Man United, and you've got other teams being bought out. It's one of two things. Either the club don't actually want to sell, or the club have overvalued all the assets that they've actually got. So say the club's worth $4.5 billion, but when you add up all the assets together, it's actually not that much. Then that's what the issue is. So don't think it's just because nobody wants to buy us is the point that I'm saying. You're right. There's no concrete people who can replace FSG right now based on names. But there will be people out there. It's just, if the club doesn't get sold, that will be only FSG doing. That's one thing I can guarantee. 100% guarantee. If FSG really wanted this club sold, even if it was for 2 or 3 billion, they would sell it. The only reason why it won't get sold is if FSG deem it a unacceptable offer or whatever have you. Do you not think John Henry, like most chairmen, simply use Liverpool to flex and brag about all his mates? And doesn't really care for the glory? I actually don't. I think he uses Liverpool for what it always had the potential to be when he bought it. Because even though Liverpool were in shit's creek, we were still a massive club with massive fans, massive heritage, and we were in disarray. He maximised the opportunity. He went into the market when the stocks were low, and it was only the only way was up from when John Henry took over the football club. In the short term, things kind of were steadied out as we knew, and then over time, when we got Jurgen Klopp, things got better. And I think that was the jackpot for John W. Henry, and is actually what has gave him all the credit in the bank that he's got from an FSG standpoint. Because even throughout the Klopp tenure, John Henry was not favoured in America, chat. He was not favoured in America. They didn't like him. They didn't want him running the football clubs. There was a lot of issues there at hand. Therefore, when they've got an issue, but we're fine because we're doing enough, that's when it gets negated and clouded up. But then time tells you otherwise. Time suggests, okay, sometimes we're inconsistent. Sometimes we're not competing for this league title. And, case studies suggest without Jurgen Klopp, we can't do this with FSG. If Klopp goes, then how fucked are we? Because then does it go from not being the European team at all? Because maybe that's what it could end up being. Right now, you could, Jurgen Klopp's never won a Europa League, and then it gets to no Europa League, then it gets to no Conference League, then it gets to no additional revenue, and then it gets to what FSG were here for. That's why I think they should sell the club now, because they won't get more money for it now than ever. The club was on top in the summer, or last year when it was rumoured to be sold. It was at maximum value that it was ever going to be at. Whereas now you look at the situation and I analyse it and I say, if you don't get Europe, the value is only going to go down. But the reason why it's good for FSG to be here is just because it's so profitable. Shirt sales, big fan base, and the money to make from Premier League and Champions League revenue is like unlike any other. So best believe, even though Liverpool aren't spending loads, FSG are getting some lovely, lovely, lovely profits. Chat WRL. Shout out to Harry. Thank you so much for the super chats here. Any super chats, guys, just really appreciate it. It's what allows me to do this full time. So thank you so much. Would you have any genuine and long-term model opposition to us being bought out by oil money? I feel like I'd pretend to be opposed to it, to be honest. I wouldn't pretend to be any. And, Harry, I analyse football for what it is. On bigger scales or smaller scales, there is going to be corruption. So now that we've accepted this corruption, what levels of corruption are we willing to take at our football clubs? Well, I understand on one hand, we don't want to be complete immoral bastards. Now, why wouldn't you want Saudi owners? It's because maybe you don't align with the culture in Saudi, certain things they enforce, certain laws. But really, that's just the difference of cultures. People from their culture would come here and say, I would be embarrassed to live the way that the Western society does. I only raise this because obviously if Saudi Arabia is, a moral opposition? Just as you're asking, and it's a great question, by the way, Harry. I know how you're asking the question. Is there a problem? I don't think so, because I don't see too much more pride or value or greatness in an American white man, John W. Henry, who's probably done seedy shit himself, has most certainly done seedy shit himself, than a guy in Saudi. Now, maybe both are seedy, but either way, they're seedy. And this is why I want to raise the point earlier, Harry, is that if you have been thinking or have wanted a club, and not you, just anyone, have wanted a club that is ran by the fans, like the way when, New Sunderland owners came in, they said, the fans are going to run this club. We'll clear the debts. Yous are going to run the club. The money we make off of you is how we run this football team. So when we achieve something, the fans can say, we achieved this. But they're not expecting trophies after trophy. They're just expecting the odd trophy here or there and hopefully sustainable Premier League football. That is their goal. But they are self-funded fans. If you think Liverpool have been that or will be that, you're wrong. It is not the fans' responsibility to fund this football club. It is the owner's responsibility to run this football club, because they profit off the money they make towards us. The money that goes back into the football club, of course, is money that's made from us, but a lot is coming from other areas, which is, again, undisclosed, which is why it's hard to talk about and it's hard to get a proper gauge on who's at wrong and are they doing the most they possibly can, because I would believe not. So, yeah, there would be... I don't take pride in having FSG as my current owners. You know what I mean? I don't. There's nothing that FSG stand for, on a communal basis that I think I'm so proud they're our owners. And I certainly don't like FSG to a point where if we got Saudi owners tomorrow, I'd be like, they're so much worse than FSG on a moral standpoint. FSG have gone against a lot of what this football club stands for. They signed for the Super League. I know they never created it. They didn't need to. They had the option to say no. They didn't say no. And the only reason why they backed out is because of the global outrage. If it was just Liverpool fans protesting, it's fine. We've got thousands in Asia. We will be good without you locals. That was the mentality. The same mentality was applied when they tried to hire the ticket prices. The same mentality was applied when they tried to trademark Liverpool. The second you analyse the intention of a man is the second you know not to keep your eye off of them if they are in your presence. Because if you do take that eye off their presence, then they can stab you in the back the same way they tried to before. The second you analyse the intention of the man is the second you recognise the capability they have of doing that to you again. So yes, even though there could be something wrong with these dodgy people from Saudi Arabia, as people want to call it, and Carragher and Neville coming out, there's not much perfect about these American owners. There's not much perfect about how these American billionaires make their money. I'm only advising the chat to go into it. It's not a conspiracy theory. It's just disputing that one singular conversation of it's a model to have Saudi, but it's model to have white American owners. Doesn't matter whether they're white, orange, or yellow, or where they're from, or what they believe, or anything like this. These clubs at this level, in the biggest league in the world, remember what I always say, where there is money, there is corruption. And in the Premier League is where the most money is, besides Saudi. So there's a lot of corruption. Now, with that information, what do we do with it, Harry? We now have to compete with the corruption by either being better cheaters, better to find and loopholes, or find and better connections. And FSG don't seem capable of doing these things. And if you don't like the idea of Liverpool being better cheaters, better loophole finders, or better competitors, or anything like this, then you're supporting the wrong team. You need to start supporting a team in Football League One. I'm being honest with you, chat. You really, really do. If that's what you want the Premier League to be, you're in the wrong league. You need to go back to... If you want to feel the 90s and the 80s and all this, go to Football League 1 and Football League 2. It's a good transition. If you want to go back to even further, go and watch Conference League. You don't get that from Premier League no more. You just don't, chat, and it's just one of those things. It's unfortunate, but it's one of those things. V1 says, I actually don't think the model is awful, rather the ability to sell players at their peak time. But that's a part of their model. Like Wijnaldum, Mane, Lallana, Origi, Phillips, Klein, and Sturridge. For the value they still are, FSG out. Very true. Very true. That's not Liverpool. You are supporting the wrong team. Are you talking to me there, Rossi? Because if you're saying that I'm wrong for saying that we're not cheaters, I bet you could find things that FSG have done that aren't completely sincere. I think there's something quite fishy in the City thing where we paid them £1 million to not take it further. I don't get the idea of paying someone money to take something further that you're innocent in. And in a sense of what you mean. So are you saying that I'm wrong for wanting us to be cheating, even though we've already potentially cheated before? Are you saying I'm wrong because I want us to spend more, because then that means we can compete on a more regular basis? I'm just trying to analyze where you're coming from, because then in your follow-up comment, in which you've said here, Rossi, you've said you are a child compared to actual Liverpool fans. Factually, you're right, actually, because I'm quite a young gentleman. If you're talking about my opinions and my mindset, I don't think having a different opinion to somebody else means you have a childish mindset. I think a childish mindset is somebody who has the inability or capability of actually... That went a middle finger to you, by the way. That was just of actually having discussion, or capable of having discussion, in which this example of what you're showing me here shows you probably cannot do. And it's not because you've disagreed with me that I'm coming to that conclusion. It's because you've called me a child, and you're saying that I'm a child compared to most Liverpool fans, but you've gave me no basis or premise or substance on why I'm any of those things. And then you followed with, this is how we find out the glory hunters. Absolutely not the case. I have still gone to games throughout childhood all the way to now, and supported us when we've not even been in a hope of a title race. I am simply speaking to the fans who want us to be a winning team on a regular basis, which I don't think there's anything wrong with, saying we are not going to be that team without doing this. I've actually said readjust the expectations. I've said be happy with Europa League, knowing what your resources are. So again, Rossi, you're talking to the wrong guy. You're getting angry at the wrong face. You're putting the wrong words together at the wrong time on the wrong stream. So as much as I appreciate the input, it's a dumb input and also highly inaccurate. So appreciate your time, sir. Appreciate your time. But unfortunately, no points were raised in the duration of this discussion. Once again, Rossi is the name of our neighbour's dog, and he barks too much. Ah, shit. Have we set off a dog? I've just got a message. Message. Ah. Why isn't my phone turning off? Guys, I think we're going to end the stream there. I'm not going to lie. No, we're not. We're going to reply to Rossi one more time because he's been a gimp. We have already won the league with billionaire owners in it. We've already won the league. Okay, again, what's the point in raising this point that we've already won the league? You're now saying we've won the league, so we don't need to win it again. Because again, if so, I disagree with that premise. If you're fine with us being mid-table, then you're just a different fan to me, Rossi. As much as I disagree, and I don't think that benefits the football club financially, globally, increasing marketing wise. I don't think being stagnant in mid-table like you're suggesting or implying by your words and actions will get us there. But through my suggestions and potential solutions, what I would suggest is that my suggestions increase the chances of us being a more successful football team than you, generating more revenue for the football club if we're winning more, generating more local fans coming to the football club, which increases the revenue of local businesses around Anfield. What I am asking for is the greater good of football. What you're asking for is mediocrity. This is the difference between me and you. And you misconceive it as hate. You misconceive it as James is just trying to be childish. Absolutely not the case. I just have so much time on my hands. I can look into this more than you. And that's just the way it is. Rossi says, we have already won a Champions League with City being a thing. We have already won everything with billionaire owners in football. What has changed? We didn't need that money. Well, clearly we did, because we'd have more than one Premier League and one Champions League. The Premier League and Champions League you're talking about right now would be plural. There would be an S on each of those titles, because we would have won more than one if we had shown an increased amount of urgency. It's not childish to not see that light. In fact, I'd say it's childish if you don't see it. If you don't see how that remains true, how we could have not improved, if you can sit here and tell me to my face, James, we could have not done anything else to improve, and this is why, then fine, I'll give you every single pint that I could buy from the pub, Rossi. But as I believe that you wouldn't be able to raise those points, the same way you've been able to raise nothing but inaccurate points in the small sentences, granted that you're allowed on YouTube, you've not enhanced my opinion. In fact, if anything, you've just shown that as what comes across as an FSG inability to discuss and not raise good points. It's a big shame, but I try and see the other side, because if you're right, if FSG are so good, that's good, because that means we've got the right owners right here, right now, and it's going to work out in the long term. I don't think that's going to happen. No, you said you agreed you are a child compared to most LFC fans. Factually, you're right. I meant literally, I am more of a child because I'm young. It depends what you was implying in that sense. And also, the opinions that I get actually stem from gentlemen older than me. When I grew up, I was surrounded environments of pubs around by Anfield. I don't know where you're from, Rossi, probably a Wool. But if you are from Anfield, then you should actually know, if you know Scousers and you know your own people, that people weren't happy under the Hicks and Gillette days and they wanted higher standards. When we missed out on the league, people weren't happy because we didn't sign up to the league to be second place. The same way that last season when we were playing shit, all people, older gentlemen to be more specific, came to me and suggested and sat there and said, we need to do better. This is fucking shite. I just have time to talk about it in detail. That's the only difference between me and these gentlemen. So you can sit there and say, oh, listen, this, that, and the other. Last thing, I wanted to give you the platform, Rossi. Enjoy your 5 minutes of fame. We can win the league without cheating. But we've cheated before. Maybe not in the way that you put under cheating, like transfers and big wages. But didn't you hear the City thing I brought up before, how we got fined $1 million by them, or we paid them $1 million to not take something further? Why would we pay them $1 million if we hadn't done anything wrong or anything insincere? And if a team as small as Derby County can cheat, then why can't Liverpool cheat here or there? So you don't care about the fundamental wrong. You just care about when somebody else's fundamental wrong goes against you. And you're okay with it as long as you don't get caught for your fundamental wrongs. As a matter of fact, Rossi, I'd suggest that that's childish. Don't know how old you are, and I don't know if you are a Scouser. Clearly, from what you've been saying, it doesn't sound like it. But from what I've read, it sounds like the things you would accuse me of is exactly what you are, Rossi. So, all that being said, even though you're a bell end lad, and much love to you, and thank you for the input on the stream. You made it a little bit spicy and interesting at the end. Yes, Ross is most certainly a Wool, but let's be nice to Ross, guys. You know what I mean? Ross is entitled to his opinions, though. And this is the thing. That's the beautiful thing about the platform. Ross is most certainly entitled to his opinions. Guys, much love. Hope you all have a belter. Smash a like before we leave the stream. And until tomorrow, I will see you beautiful people